Hello and welcome wherever you're joining us in the world. Welcome to new first-party BaaS from Microsoft 365. My name's Ed Watson. I'm a Principal Product Marketing Manager at Veeam, and I'm joined by two gentlemen who know a thing or two about backup. I'm joined here by Mr. Benedict Dowling, Business Solutions Architect here at Veeam. I'm also joined by Mr. Joseph Watkins, a technical strategist here at Veeam, and we're really excited to be here and talk about all the new stuff we have to talk about around BaaS. So with that, let's dive into a quick agenda here. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing currently, a little bit about the future, a little bit about the past, a little bit about some of the innovation that we came out with over the past few years, and what our current options are now today. Joseph is going to be giving us a really cool demo on this solution, and we're going to be covering, of course, pricing, packaging, and of course, next steps that you can take and a Q&A session. We have our Senior Director, Russ Kirscher, here behind the scenes to answer any questions that you might have. So please don't be shy. Put any and all questions related to this webinar, and we'll be more than happy to cover these, and we'll be doing a summary of these afterwards. So with that, let's dive right in. And it's pretty interesting to note that Microsoft 365 data, it continues to be one of these applications that suffers data loss. And yes, it is a resilient platform, it is a resilient product, but it still has its weaknesses, it still has its vulnerabilities. In fact, it had the highest amount of vulnerabilities in a recent survey of all the applications that were surveyed. It suffered, organizations suffered, 53% of organizations suffered SaaS-related data loss in the past year as well. So yes, SaaS data loss is real. And unfortunately, of these organizations that have data loss incidents, we notice that less than 25% actually are able to recover 100% of their Microsoft 365 data during a data loss incident. They don't have the right backup solution in place, or they don't have any backup solution in place. So they're simply left vulnerable to data loss. We asked our customers this question: what does backup as a service mean to you in our Cloud Protection Trends report this year? We also asked the question, which of these is most important to you in regards to backup as a service, right? So of these, it was very interesting. The BaaS meaning people took as backup service Cirrus runs from the cloud. They also took that meaning as delivered by the actual software provider, right? Delivered by the Veeams of the world through a service. The most important aspect that they had for backup as a service was, in fact, delivered by the actual software provider through a service. So that definitely got our attention. And again, this data has been something we've been looking at for the past few years. We've been looking at different, the forums and the customer feedback that we've been getting over the years. And it was clear that we needed to make a solution that could deliver on this requirement. We also, in our data protection trends report, asked another question, which is your primary method of backing up today? And how do you want to back it up in the next 2 years? And you can clearly see, and clearly, the people on the call today, you have been the voice that has said, look, I want to leverage a backup using a cloud service as part of a solution, ranging from 60% in 2020, around the COVID time there, to around today, where we literally grew, 10 percentage points. And we look at growing another 10 percentage points, looking out to 2024 and 2025. So very interesting development that we're seeing, and on-premises tools only will continue to see that small decline as we go through the years. Now, Benny, we've got a long history here, 7 years. This solution, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, has been in market. What can you tell us about this?
Well, when we have a quick look on our timeline over the last 7 years, you will also see that we firstly, for sure, we started with just a backup for email, just backup for our data protection for Exchange Online and on-premises Exchange. This is where the whole story starts. And then we accelerated our business by adding more services we can protect. So it was SharePoint, OneDrive. Additionally, then we added the team support. And if we look overall on the, like, let's say, Veeam story, one of our focus topics is always our flexibility of our products. And um, when our product starts to grow, even the customer numbers were like super fast accelerating. So when we started up with the product, it was like, even with the infrastructure, it was kind of smaller, it was very simple setup. But then we figured out even enterprise jumps over to M365, and we also need to accelerate and offer flexible options for our product. Can you go to the next slide? Because then you can see we, in November 2019, we started our flexibility, or expanding the flexibility by adding object storage capabilities in case of your repositories. So the customers were able to use an object storage, even if it was an on-premise object storage, as well as the known cloud object storage systems, as like an alternative to local repositories. And yeah, but let's say there's one last piece of our flexibility puzzle which was missing. So Edward, go to the next slide and introduce one of our last puzzle pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Benny. So, yes, this was the missing piece to our puzzle, right? Cirrus by Veeam, a number one backup now as a service, not only for Microsoft 365, but also for Azure. So, what we're really allowing here with Cirrus by Veeam is really that speed time to value, right? Getting a backup quickly up and running, fast implementation. No need to worry about misconfigurations, completely removed from the equation. No need to worry about patching, right, or any of those updates. It's all taken care of you. So what can you tell us about some of these key points here around Cirrus by Veeam, Benny?
Well, all of you already know where Veeam came from. It simply works, right? This was one of our slogans many years before, and this is what is still in our heart. And whenever we bring out new features or new products, this is still state of the art, right? So it is super intuitive to manage the the overview, or the console. But Joe will jump on that later and show you some settings or some configurations in the live demonstration. It is very secure, multi-factor authenticated, as well as you can like limit the access by network rules within the console. Very easy pricing, but we will jump on these topics later more in detail.
Great. So what does that mean for customers? That means that not only do they get the benefit of this new solution, this new Veeam BaaS solution, but they also can still take care of and still deploy using the software only, right? So that's been our traditional method, right? Software only, backing up to any location of choice, whether either on premises or cloud object storage, that deployment of your own infrastructure. But partners are still such a valuable part of our business, right, Benny? I mean, what are your thoughts around these different options here?
Yeah. Well, this is exactly the flexibility storage. So the customers can choose: do I want to store my data, for example, on premise? Do I still want to keep like the 100% overview and responsibility over my data? Um, I'm more trusted with one of my partners, so I hand over all the backup responsibility to them. So I do not really need to care about like infrastructure, things like that. But if you want to have a flexible pricing without any doubts of your like backup repository calculation, for example, or infrastructure things, then there's the new third option, our backup as a service, which makes it, as I said, 100% flexible for the customer. So I'm sure there will be the 150% perfect fit for our customers and as well as for our partners.
Excellent, excellent. So three ways, folks. Three ways. Let's not forget that. So moving on to Cirrus from Microsoft 365. I want to be very clear here, guys. This is a battle-tested solution. Cirrus from Microsoft 365. It might be our new BaaS solution, but this is based on the most trusted and reliable Microsoft 365 backup solution, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, currently protecting 17 million plus users. Was the recent number we saw for users protected. So this is truly a battle tested solution, as you've seen as Benny was walking through a lot of the innovation that we've seen. So walk us through what really differentiates Cirrus from Microsoft 365 based on VB365, Benny.
Yeah, this is exactly the point. The underlying, like I would say, infrastructure, it is still the same product, right? Cirrus is like an add-on or an adaptation, completely independent from any kind of infrastructure working at customer side. So you still have the complete flexibility, but Joe will show this in the demo as well. You have exactly the same or even more broader recovery options. So it is even the recovery. Well, it is not an Explorer, right? But on VB365, we still say Explorers. On Cirrus, it is a web console for sure. But the flexible recovery options are pretty exactly the same. So it is super powerful. And talking about powerful, even the search capabilities are integrated are super powerful. So it is very intuitive, but it is easier to see this in the live demo than just talking about that in slides. It is an all-inclusive service. So that means you do not really care about the underlying infrastructure. You do not need to install any kind of Veeam component in your data center. You do not need to care about storage because there is unlimited storage. But Edward will talk about that point later. So it is unlimited storage, a very simple pricing. Yeah. You do not need to care about any kind of scalings. Yeah. This is completely automated by Cirrus. Even if you think about network limitations or infrastructure management, the access level or your bandwidth, you do not really care about this anymore. So you're just renting the service with all good known Veeam features. And this is the good thing. You still are able to hand on all the administrative tasks if you want to. You can configure your backup jobs. You can configure your backup retention. You can select your backup repository. So depending on how many copies you want, for example. The restore functionalities, as I already said, are pretty the same like within Explorer. So it's completely up to you. And this can all controlled by a very deep integrated role-based access control, for example. And for sure, for your service level agreements, there are some kind of like reports, and you can see this all in like it is called Coffee Dashboard, but Joe will see this, show this also in the demonstration, because this is like the starting screen whenever you log in. Yeah, this is more or less a short wrap up. Let me see if I forgot something. So it is very intuitive. Point and click interface. It simply works. And this is just also what the Cirrus UI is, but you will see this in a minute. Cirrus brings also a very easy pricing model. We want to talk about that after the demo, as well as the dynamic billing. Veeam also brings clear exit strategies to the products. So this is like one of our internal rules. We will never lock in a customer. Means even if you do not want to back up your data with Veeam anymore, for what reason ever, it is still your backup data and you can still use this for restores. So for sure, you have to adapt your VB365 then to your object storage, for example, but it is still your data and we do not lock you out. So we also added granular role-based access control, but this is much more flexible, in my opinion, as we know this from our Veeam console, the Veeam Backup 365 console. And when we're talking about licensing, you're also able to manage your licenses by using the Azure AD or Entra AD by using their groups. So that enables you to select only a specific group of users to just back them up, and you only need to license these specific groups of users. Yeah, I think it's time to jump into the demonstration because this is, much more interesting than just swifting through our slides, right?
Yeah, let's see a demo, Joe. Let's see this in
Perfect.
action.
Let me share my screen. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yep.
So this is the Cirrus portal. So as mentioned previously, it's built on Veeam's backup for M365 solution, and Cirrus is essentially the pretty wraparound around the solution to make it simple, easy, intuitive to use. So when you first log in, you're presented with this dashboard screen. This dashboard gives you an overview at a glance of your backup status, so you can see when your last backup was, whether it was successful with warnings, with errors, the amount of restore points there are, and also the amount of storage being consumed. As already mentioned, it is unlimited storage, but it's a nice thing to be able to see how much your backup data has grown. Next one just covers over the users, the total amount of users, the amount of users that you have protected, and the amount of unprotected, and just a pie chart underneath just giving you an overview of how many of those accounts you have protected. The next one just covers over the retention period. So as standard, we would provide a 7-year retention period because that meets majority of organizations' compliancy requirements. However, if there is a need to keep that for a less period of time or more, that's absolutely possible. So you can see with this test tenancy that I'm in at the moment, I'm currently 1 year and 18 days into my retention, and my earliest recovery point or oldest retention point is on the 27th of the 10th, 2022. And again, just a pie chart indicating how far towards meeting your retention period you are. Next one just gives you an overview on the license activity within your M365 tenancy. So you can see that I've got 28 active licenses within my 365 tenancy and 13 inactive. I can also see my inactive accounts here as well. I can get an overview of the licenses being consumed by Cirrus. So I have 28 active licenses and 14 unlicensed. And then finally, I just get an overview of the storage being consumed within my M365 environment. So you can see I'm using 570 gigabytes within my environment, and you can see the 5 top storage users within my environment as well. So what do we protect with Cirrus? We protect your Outlook, your OneDrive, your SharePoint, and your Teams data. The one thing I will show you as well on this dashboard screen is we do keep an audit log or show the recent user activity of users so we can see exactly what users have access. So if, for example, someone's created a restore session in Outlook, you can see that. If someone's previewed an email or if they've restored an item, you can capture that details through this activity log here. But I'll touch back on that again in a few moments. I'll just give you an overview of how the backup jobs are configured. So if I click backup jobs in the top left-hand corner, you can see within my environment here, I've got multiple different jobs. Some of these jobs are completing successfully without any issues, and you've got some that have warnings. You'll see underneath, I've also got a log of the backups that have been carried out within the environment as well. So if I select another backup here, it will refresh that and show me the logs with that content. If I wanted to interrogate this to see what those warnings were, and say, for example, I wanted to look for my name, I can search my name and I can see, yeah, my mailbox is backed up successfully. But if I wanted to filter that through and just look at those warnings, I can filter this and it will show me just the warnings and it will give me a breakdown in plain English of what those warnings are, and it's very easy to rectify from there. All of these logs can be exported to CSV either through this screen here or alternatively through the actual backup log screen. That will download to a CSV file. And on any of these jobs, if I wanted to edit them, I can start them, disable them, delete them, as I would expect to do normally. And if I wanted to create a brand new backup, I can click New Backup Job in the top right-hand corner. I can give my job a name and a description. If I've got multiple repositories here, I can choose what retention period I want configured. So I want this one stored UK South with a 7-year retention. I can do so. On my next tab, I can then choose what I would like to back up. So I can either back up my entire organization, or alternatively, I can back up my entire organization, excluding certain users, groups, SharePoint sites, or teams. Or alternatively, I can have the bottom-up approach. So if, for example, I wanted just to back up a subset of users, I can click on my M365 users here. It'll provide me with a list of my users, and then I can choose the ones that I would like to select for backup. So say, for example, I wanted to choose these 3 users. I've then got the granularity to choose what components I would like to back up for those users. When I'm done, I can click OK. You can then see I've got 3 users selected. Same principle when it comes to selecting groups. So I can choose what I want to do for those groups, mailboxes and sites, and also the members of that group, SharePoint sites, teams. And additionally, if, for example, I wanted to back up all mailboxes or a complete component, I can choose partial organization and choose the components I want to back up. Final one just covers over the schedule. So it tells me that as standard, I'm going to run the job automatically at a particular time of day. That can be done either every day, weekends, work days, or a particular day of the week. And these jobs can also be run periodically, either every 8 or every 4 hours. I can start the job after it's been created. I haven't filled out all the details here, but I would be able to click create here and it would appear on this backup screen. And if I have configured it to run straight away, I would be able to also see the active log of that backup job. If I then touch onto the search functionality here, so similar to the Veeam backup from 365 side, there is the advanced search functionality. So I can search through each of the components through Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. I can look at a particular point in time. I can add as many criteria in here as I would like. So for example, if I wanted to go to look for a particular address and I added my name, I can add as many criteria through into this, and I wanted to look for certain content in the body. I can then search for the word test and add that through to my criteria. Once I've added my criteria, I can search. That will look through my backup repository and obviously provide me that content. You'll see historical logs here, and I can also view the results and carry out restores if required. When it comes to restoring data, I'll use Outlook as an example here. So when I click on this, I will be presented with all of my users within my test tenancy here. That's due to my permissions. And for example, if I wanted to drill down to my mailbox, I can either select it through here, or alternatively, I can filter through. I can search my name, I can choose my mailbox, and you'll see straight away it shows me my mailbox as I would expect to see it in my Outlook. So within me clicking on my mailbox, you can see I can restore my selected mailbox. If I drill down and go into a folder, I can restore that selected folder. And similarly, if I wanted to restore an individual item, I can restore that selected item. Straightforward within a couple of clicks. Additionally, with my permissions, I have got the ability to preview an email as well. So if I click on this preview, it will show me the message body, so I can confirm it's definitely the email that I want to carry out a restore on. Once I'm happy, I can click OK. I can then carry out a restore. I've then got the option to restore back to my original location, or restore to my original location with some advanced settings, or potentially another user's mailbox and a particular folder within that mailbox. I can download it to my local computer, or I can download it in the background. For this instance, if I download to original location and carry out a restore, this will work away, and in a moment, in the top right, it will come up with a message saying that the restore has started, and I'll be notified once it's complete, as you can see here. You'll also see that I've now got a red dot over my notifications. And if I click on this, a pop-out will appear just to say that the restore has completed successfully. I can also review historical logs through here as well. It's the same principle when navigating through OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. I won't click through all of them, but hopefully you can see it's very straightforward. And on each of these screens, you will see that I've got a date picker. So I can go back to a particular point in time. So say, for example, I wanted to restore something from my OneDrive from last week. I can go back, choose my OneDrive. It will then refresh that data as of that date, and then obviously I can carry out that restore. I have also got the ability here to include items that may have been deleted by a user. So essentially, it will look through previous backups. So if you're not quite sure when you deleted a file, you'll be able to then navigate through from the latest point and obviously find the file that you need to restore. Now that I've shown you the restoration process, if I go back to my dashboard screen, I just wanted to give you an overview of the audit logs that are captured. So you can see that I've created a restore session. I've then viewed the email body. I've then restored that item. I've then carried out a restore session within OneDrive, and then I've refreshed that date, so it's created a new restore session in OneDrive as well. If I then just touch on the settings, so as Benny mentioned before, everything in Cirrus is based on role-based access control. So I'm an administrator. I have the ability to do pretty much everything with the platform, but you can have as many roles as you would like. So if you, for example, if you've got different levels of support that you want to provide different levels of permission, so you may not want to give them access to preview emails, or restore to a different mailbox, or potentially even download to their local computer, you can do so. Really straightforward to add a new role. I can click add new role in the top right hand corner. I can give it a name. I can then provide them the permissions I want, and then you can allocate the users to that role. When it comes to adding a new admin user to the Cirrus portal, I can go to admin users. I can add a user. I can then add their email address, first name and last name, send them a welcome email, and then I can toggle the role I want them to be associated with. Other thing I'll just point out on the settings section here is just information about the organization. So information regarding Teams chats, reauthorizing Cirrus if there were an issue with your backups and it wasn't transacting the data properly. You can reauthorize it directly through here. If you've got access to the repositories, you would be able to amend your repositories through this environment here, or potentially add a new one. Or if, for example, you wanted to change the retention period, you can do so easy enough on a yearly or even on a daily basis if required. Final one I'll just touch on is accessibility. So, for example, if you wanted to restrict access to the Cirrus portal for inside your own office walls without anyone from outside being able to access, you can do so by adding a particular IP range in here, so users won't be able to access unless they're within that IP range. You can also capture syslog events as well. So if you have a syslog server, you can capture audit logs directly through here as well. So point it to your syslog server, put the port number in, and obviously the protocol required. Other thing I will just touch on very quickly within the Cirrus portal is the organization details. This just gives you an overview of who you are as a company, who the primary contact is, billing contact, the option to configure notification emails on backup completions, backup failures, a monthly report of backup jobs, and if there are any licensing changes within the platform. And you can also add in a webhook to a Teams channel as well, so you can automatically link that through as well. The final thing I will just touch on the Cirrus portal as well, logging a ticket through the Cirrus portal, really straightforward. I can do that directly through here. It'll open up in a new page and you can log a support ticket. There's also a link to our FAQ, which just gives you an overview of how the product works, SLAs, compliancy requirements, any limitations of the product, etc. And that covers it all. Back to you guys.
Great. Well, thank you, Joe. Hopefully you can hear me because my mic looks like it was spooling there. Great. So we're going to go ahead and get back to the presentation. We're not done yet. So I've seen lots of great questions come in. We want to keep those questions coming. So please, if you have any questions or concerns at all, please, by all means, drop those questions in for us to answer. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share. And sorry, it's taking a little bit of time here. I don't think that worked. Let me try that again, guys. My apologies. I'm afraid my sharing function is acting very slow. If I'm not sure if Joe or Benny, if you have the ability to share.
Sure, let me quickly check.
Yeah, my apologies, folks. But we are getting lots of great questions in, and we look forward to being able to cover those very, very shortly. Let me see, does this work now?
So
If not,
Edward, I know we had planned for the Q&A at
Yes.
the end of the presentation. While you're go ahead and getting that loaded back up, why don't we jump in and just answer a few?
That would be great. That would be great. Thanks for that, Russ.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. So tons of questions coming in Q&A. I'm doing my best to get those answered back to you as quickly as possible. Apologize if we haven't had a chance to answer your question yet, but wanted to, at the end of the presentation, we had planned on just taking a quick break and sharing some of those out loud with the full group that we thought you'd be interested in. So we'll go ahead and run through 2 or 3 of those and then pass it back over to the guys. The first one was, will the slides and recording be sent out after the presentation? I want to share with my team. The answer is yes. Anytime Veeam does a webinar like this, give us 2 or 3 days and we will prepare everything in an email and get you out a copy of the recording and also a link to the slides. Joe, a question for you, and then we can go back to the slides on screen. How hard is it to get set up and running your first backup job?
Really straightforward. So as far as the onboarding process, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to complete. So we'll carry out an app registration within your landscape. We'd need a global admin on your side to authenticate. We'd then be able to configure the backups once onboarded onto the solution, literally within a couple of clicks.
Great, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, Edward, it looks like you're back up and running. Back over to you.
Yes. I think it's always ironic when the enterprise solution that we're demoing live has no issues at all, but unfortunately the webinar platform we're running does. That's always very ironic. But I do want to mention here, folks, that again, I did mention this is a very battle-tested solution, right? So we have this case study here, and I found this very interesting. This is McGrath estate agents in Australia that partnered with Veeam and CT4 on this solution. The challenge they were having, they were migrating to M365. They needed scalability of that solution. They needed the ease of using that backup. And they were on a massive growth trajectory. They needed a scalable solution. They were looking at Commvault for a while. They found that it really wasn't easy for backing up M365 and Azure and really enabling that scale. So with Veeam, they saved $100,000. They were able to enable their ransomware recovery capabilities, and they were also able to utilize a solution that was able to grow with them as they gained tens of thousands of M365 users year after year after year. I love the quote that Darren gave us. Great fit for us because Veeam was able to deliver fully automated, secure, scalable, cost-effective backup and recovery. He also mentioned that one of their competitors unfortunately didn't have a backup in place and ended up paying a ransom where 125 gigs of their data ended up in the hands of criminals. So definitely McGrath made the right decision here, partnering with us and enabling them to easily get back up and running and ensure their data was completely protected and available. So let's talk a little bit about packaging here. So this is, as you would expect, with a BaaS model on a monthly available basis, right? So this is a subscription, $4 USD per user per month. And if you commit to our annual upfront billing, you can actually get that cost down to $3.50 per user per month. So that will save you around $6 per user per year if you go the annual route as well. So we have this upfront billing available as well. Of course, that also includes unlimited Azure Cool storage. And this is available in a variety of different places. This is available via our traditional Veeam added reseller, our Veeam resellers, various distribution marketplaces, also the Azure marketplace. So this is a very much an Azure built solution, Azure marketplace available solution. Anything to add here, Joe or Benny, on the way this is packaged?
Yeah, well, maybe we can talk a little bit about what does unlimited means in
Yes,
repository cases.
absolutely. So unlimited storage, right? So what does that actually mean? Store as much of that data as you need. You don't have to worry about the cost. This is all included. You also get the benefit of unlimited retention as well. So not only can you store as much data as you need, you can actually retain as much data as you need for as long as you require. So really great benefit in terms of leveraging this BaaS solution from M365 through Veeam. Now, Benny, we've also got something else. We have focused on M365 here, right? But Cirrus by Veeam also includes Azure. So why don't you cover this off for us real quick?
Yeah, this is also a big deal because there is now, as you just said, Cirrus Cloud Protect for Microsoft Azure, where we can cover like even a web portal to back up any kind of workloads based on Microsoft Azure. So it is pretty the same story we just talked about with M365, but now focusing on Azure. Well, we do not have the time to jump on that topic into deep today, but I'm pretty sure there will be some webinars around that topic. Yeah, as I said, it is pretty the same story, super fast, restore capabilities. It is enterprise ready. This is where we want to go. You can even use this from a small business up to enterprise. There's also like our flexibility story again. Yeah, and this is it's a complete trusted solution based on Veeam Backup from Microsoft Azure for sure, but with the best combination now with Cirrus.
Excellent. And just in case anyone on the call today forgot, 3 new options, right? So deploy any way you want today, right? You can do it self-managed. We've got this new as a service model, and of course, still take advantage if you need a fully offloaded backup solution. Take advantage of the experts that we have in our Veeam Cloud and Service Provider program. The one takeaway today, so we are just getting up and running with this solution, but if you have, if you want to get started at all, you can feel free to fill in this form. This is a solution that's available today. Of course, as time goes on next year, we're going to fully integrate this into our Veeam solutions. However, get started today. Hit this QR code, and you will be directed to a Veeam rep who can guide you through the process today. So definitely take advantage of that, and yeah, get in touch with us if you're interested. And if there were any other questions that you had that you weren't able to get answered, this is just another avenue to help you get started. And of course, with Veeam, you can definitely feel that you're supported every step of the way. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up with Q&A. And thanks, Russ, for the earlier questions as we're getting back up and running. But I think we're ready to hear what we've seen from some of the folks today in terms of questions.
No worries. Happy to help out. Everybody needs a backup plan, right?
Yeah.
So Edward, I think you can answer this question. If not, let me know. I can pass it on to somebody else. But question came in that said, what all can I back up with this product? Can I back up Teams?
Yeah, no, and absolutely. So like our core product, our traditional DB365 product, you can still back up OneDrive, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, right? Exchange. So this is very much still a solution that enables you to protect all the critical apps that you may have in your environment.
Yeah, sounds good. And one other thing to highlight here, some of the questions came in reference to, with this new Cirrus offering, could we protect other workloads that the original core product couldn't protect? And that's kind of a misunderstanding of this product. The way to kind of think about it is this Cirrus solution was built on top of the platform of Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. So any workloads that it protects are now protected with Cirrus. There is additional functionality added on top that is needed to actually provide a service versus just a software-only solution, but it doesn't all of a sudden protect workloads that the original product would not support. So just wanted to highlight that as well. Next question, Joe, let's go to you on this one. The question is all of the data in these backups encrypted? Could you talk a little bit about the encryption and security functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, all data is encrypted in transit and at rest at backup location. 256-bit AES encryption as standard through Veeam software.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next one, I'll take a few questions on this, so I'll just summarize. But basically, for any current customers out there that are using Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, can I move to Cirrus? What's the process like for that? And that's something that we're actively working on. We want to create a simple, streamlined, easy way that our customers can migrate their data. If you're using Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, you can deploy it your way, right? You set up your own environment, and then we just got to go through the technical work of making sure we get a good solution to get you to migrate that data over to Cirrus. So it's actively being worked on, and we'll let you know as soon as we're ready for that. Let's see. Bene, let's see. Bene, question for you. I'm still new to this model. Can you explain to me, do I need to bring my own storage, or is it included, or how does it work? Can you talk a little bit about, that storage architecture?
Sure. Well, when we're talking about unlimited storage, the underlying storage is an Azure storage we are using, which is completely fully automated. So there's no need from customer side to bring any kind of storage by your own. So this is all completely automatically provided by us. Even the billing, they directly, I would say Azure billing, is completely covered by us. So you are just paying the per user price without caring about any kind of storage. But yes, the Azure storage is the underlying storage. And I also saw some questions about the geo topic, where are my backup data? And there will be different options. Wherever your account is, there also will be your backup data, for sure separated, which makes sense. But this is then where your backup data is stored as well.
Good stuff, Benny. Thank you. Next question just kind of builds off that for Joe. Can I choose my geo, or how does it work from a choosing where the data resides perspective?
Yeah, 100%. So we ensure data sovereignty as part of the solution. So if there's a requirement to have your data stored in a particular location for compliance requirements, etc., data can absolutely be stored as part of the onboarding process. We can ensure that that location is available, and obviously make sure that is your default location for your backups.
Yeah, good one. Okay, thank you.
Similarly with that as well, if, for example, you have to store data in multiple different locations, that is also possible as well, and we can just point the backups to those locations.
Excellent. Okay, so those were some of the questions from earlier on in the presentation that I tried to grab and set aside for to discuss verbally. I'm trying to look in the chat right now to see if anything else is coming out. Can you back up person-to-person Teams chats? I think what the person means here is like individual private chats, and no, that functionality is not available yet. Will this section be recorded? Of course. Yep, I've covered it a few times already, but yeah, we will record this, or we have recorded this. We'll send out the slides in the email in a few days. Just give us a few days. Guys, anything else that I might have missed that you want to go ahead and share verbally?
Yeah, any quick takeaways, guys, as we wrap up? Takeaway from you, Benny, to the folks here on this webinar.
Well, I can just repeat, we are trying to be as flexible as possible for our customers, and this is what we reach by providing now Cirrus by Veeam. This was the missing piece, right?
Absolutely. Anything from you, Joe?
In all honesty, I think simplicity of the solution. It's really straightforward to use, intuitive, takes the hassle of you having to manage, maintain a solution, including updates, manpower, everything else, whereas this is all under one roof.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, for many years, just educating folks on this solution and some of the challenges they had with backup. Now there's no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse to get started protecting Microsoft 365 data today, right? So now BaaS makes it so easy to the point where it's so hands-off, very lightning fast to deploy. There is simply no excuse for any organization today not protecting their Microsoft 365 data. So with that, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today for today's presentation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.